Hello, and welcome to What's Your Story? I'm so excited today to have not only an incredible guest, but a person who's a very, very good friend of mine, and I'm so delighted to have her on the show. Her name is Monique Maffei Hester, and she is a singer, a songwriter, a talented author. I mean, what can't she do? She can just do everything. And she's been a featured singer and a speaker all over the world. And we're just going to start talking to her, and then you're going to find out how cool she really is. Okay. So, welcome, Monique. We're
Thank
glad
you.
to have you
Thank
here.
you so much for having me.
Yeah. I didn't even tell them about your Tea Time show.
Oh, Tea Talk.
Yeah, Tea
Yeah,
Talk.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I always think it's tea time because I like tea time.
Yeah, I love tea time, but it's a wonderful time to sit.
But it's called Tea Talk. your
Tea
show.
Talk.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
that's where you use everyday messages to convey how people can identify and walk in their God-given purpose. Is that
Yes,
right?
it's something like that, exactly. So what I do is I use my everyday experiences. I want people to know that I'm not any different from them. Oftentimes people will say, well, it's different for you because that I'm like, no. So I use everyday occurrences, things that I face in life. And a lot of times those are financial issues. Those are relationship issues, and they are trying to make a decision about something, and so I will pull something out of my everyday life and go from there, and I bring scripture into it because that's what helps me to move through, feel encouraged. I get instruction from that, and in Tea Talk I break that down. Many people think that scripture is not for today, that it isn't practical anymore because it was written so long ago. I beg to differ. So
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. You've been singing a long time, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, tell us about your singing career.
Oh, goodness. I come from a musical family. I started singing all the way back when I was about 4. I would sing my sister to sleep. And that was like, she would tell me great stories.
Was she younger or
She's
older?
older. She has a fabulous imagination. She's a wonderful creative in that way. And she would just tell me the funniest little stories, and I would sing her to sleep, and it would just give her comfort. And then I spent a lot of time at the bedside of many of my grandparents. Unfortunately, they'd be ill or they'd be in the hospital, and they would ask me to sing, and I noticed how it made people feel.
Mm-hmm.
And I would see the expression on their face and how they would just either become relaxed or emotional, and they just would forget about where they were, especially if I did anything from Disney.
Yes.
Yeah. And I really thought, gee, I can help people feel better. I can make change happen in this little span of time where they are in this moment, and maybe take them out of this place that they're stressed or pain. And I started to sing more and more. And I would like to say that I've kept doing that all of these years. But singing, there's been a twofold relationship that I've had with singing. I had to figure out what part in it was for me and what part of it was for the rest of who people that are outside of me, if that makes sense. Yeah, it's very personal because I come on board with this thing and I open my mouth. It's not like I can stick it away in a case.
Yeah.
It's when I sing, you're getting me, and I'm being vulnerable with something that's coming out of my person.
Right.
And sometimes that can, create a strange juxtaposition from my point of view. People that you wouldn't otherwise get along with when you're an adolescent, all of a sudden they're giving you attention because, oh, you got the standing ovation in the talent show. And then a week passes, 2 weeks, and they're not your friend anymore. And as a child, you're thinking,
what is that about?
What is that about? Well, I'm not going to sing, and it's silly, and you end up hurting yourself over it. So I had to kind of get to a place of peace and understanding that, no, this is a gift from God. It's not because I'm more special. It was God's choice to give this, and this is for people outside of me.
Yes. And you do give it to people outside of you. I've seen you perform at the Composers Room here in
Yes.
Las Vegas
Yes.
many times, and I bring my friends to see you,
Yeah,
and
you're one of my.
they just all think that you're their best friend. You know, they walk out of there and they go, "Gosh, she's great," and then they're like, "When can we go back and see Monique again?"
Oh my gosh.
But your music is
Thank you.
amazing. What genre do
you.
you sing?
Well, primarily when you come to see me, and you've been such an amazing support. I truly appreciate that all the time. I see her smiling face out there in the audience, and there's nothing like that, you guys, when you're up there on stage. Jazz, which is my favorite. So jazz standards, and then some pop. I kind of read the room, you know. So sometimes I had a crowd come in really late the other night, and I was ready to kind of settle into this jazz place, but they were ready to party. So I had to break out, you know, the 70s and the 80s kind of in there. And then I also do Broadway and film. So things, you know, soundtracks, and I just read the room. You know, I've done things in Italian. It's just,
yeah, it seems like you do several languages.
yeah. Well, a little bit from several. So I'm
Yeah.
doing more and more Italian than I've ever done with this new band that you know about. We'll probably talk about that. But yes, I sing in Spanish. I've learned things for Portuguese. So
Wow.
yeah.
So what are your musical influences and why?
I would say Barbara Streisand for her control and storytelling. She is one that I would mimic and sing over and over and over in my car growing up. And Sarah Vaughan for her command of the notes in a single line. I mean, you've got 12 possible notes in a key. She can go all over. She was just amazing that way. And maybe Karen Carpenter for how relaxed she just makes it. She made it sound, it was so easy. She just would, you know, she's on the drums and she's just coming out of her mouth and you're swooning as the listener, you know?
Yeah.
So I strive to and bring in all
You have
those
quite
elements.
a personality on stage. You're, you know, you not only sing, you're a performer. You really are. Would you call yourself a performer? I would call you a performer.
I would. I'm definitely, I have to calm it down when I'm on TV because I'm that. When I was a little girl and I'd be in theater classes, they'd say, "Okay, now we want your voice to hit the back wall right there and everything. Monique, show them what I mean," like that and everything. Yeah, and I was a belter, and then, you know, it's a lot different on TV. Everything is understated, and if you're gonna smile, it's like this. On theater, it's like this because you've got to be seen by
You
that.
got to project all the way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know, you've got experience with reaching that person all the way in the very back of the room, making them feel it just as much as this guy up here in the front row.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In fact, I was taught early on in my speaking career that you do speak to the back row. In fact, the first thing out of your mouth goes to the back row because that sets the tone for your voice throughout the presentation.
Yeah, it makes sense because really, I think you and I have talked about this before where we agree that we're up there for these people because if they're not there, then this is just a paid rehearsal.
Right.
And I need to perform, to use your word, and then entertain people, whether there's 2 people in the room or 2,000 or more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And you have to be willing to do what it takes on that stage and not worry about, well, earlier in the day, you know, I got a flat tire and I was late and I was, you know, or whatever, the dog pooped on the rug. You know, you can't be thinking about any of that. And the moment that you do step on that stage, they always say you leave it on the stage, but to me, you leave everything in life over here.
Yeah.
You know, especially when I'm going to go, and I've done a lot of worship leading or prayer work with people. And I especially am like, all right, as I walk through the threshold of the door, I'm like, God, not my way, but your way. I'm leaving myself at the door. Let it be your words, your wisdom, your discernment, because we're all, the way I believe, we're God's people. We're not my people. So I don't know, you know, so I don't want to try and pour into anything, including what I'm doing on stage, any selfish motives. It has to be about the whole. you know.
I was taught that you're on stage from the minute you arrive at the venue,
Oh,
not when you go on the stage, but when you arrive, because people start watching you when you get out of that car.
no, that's a very good point. It's absolutely true. And you, from where I go, so you mentioned the composer's room. I thank everybody. I thank the chef in the back. I thank the sound person. I think because we're all a team.
Mhm.
And them doing their job in excellence makes me look good, and vice versa. You know, if I do what I'm supposed to be doing to the best that I can, and this doesn't mean that we don't have a bad day. I was at an event recently where, yeah, I got there and I had a lot on my mind, and I actually had somebody come to me and say, you know, is everything okay? I think I was a little pensive just because I was thinking about
Mhm.
the upcoming week. You know, last week was a crazy week for me. And I said, no, and I just made sure, I said, I'm so sorry. Does it seem like they go, no, you look great. You seem fine, but they know me.
Yeah.
They know I'm very outward, and
Right.
I'm very smiley a lot of the times.
Right.
And I must have, so you're absolutely right. You have to be that gracious person under fire
Mhm. You
at
do.
all times. Yeah.
I saw a very well-known singer. I will not mention his name. One time here in Las Vegas, and he kept banging on the microphone. He had the microphone and he kept banging on it, and it kept just making. Now, you know, the sound man was getting that in his ears. You know, it was a pound, 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 pound. And then when he started to sing, the sound man made his microphone make all during his songs. I mean, the sound man got him back big time.
Yeah.
And it really, I watched that and I thought, you know, we have to learn to be great to people, especially people that are in control of our sound
Yes.
and our lights and those things.
Yes, but I would be saying, so I don't know. In a situation like that, number one, I mean, if I may speak on that, the guy doing this, that's not cool. Nobody
No.
wants to see that in the audience. That just looks like somebody hit me. He might as well just stomp
Yeah.
his foot on the ground. Okay.
Right.
And at the same time, though, the sound man needed to be bigger than the situation and still be professional.
Yes.
So sound man, but
Shame on him.
shame on singer.
Shame on both of them.
Shame on both of them. Neither one of you get, brownie
but
points.
it just made me think, you know, you better be real careful, Miss Morio, when you go in there and you messing around with the microphone, because that guy's got that in his ears.
Yes.
You know?
And we should be kind anyway.
Yes.
Yeah. These days, I don't know about the speaking engagements, but at least for sound, for vocals and that, they're not usually wearing the stuff. So it's more of, it's just being kind.
Yes.
You know, it takes courage to be kind. It takes courage to make the right choice and to behave in the right manner. That takes courage. And and a lot of people take the shortcut, unfortunately.
Yeah. Or they get caught up in their own life and their issues and their problems, and they don't think about the other person.
Right. They don't give them the benefit of the doubt, and they become offended.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't serve anything other than, like, for some people, it'll give you an ulcer. I mean, if you do it enough.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we're talking about this crazy world we're living, and you're in this crazy business. So how do you navigate the highs and the lows?
Oh my goodness. I spend a lot of my quiet time with God. I put that first. And sometimes it can get lopsided because I could rehearse, literally, I could take hours between doing marketing things and rehearsing and learning songs and creating, lead sheets and all of that. But I learned kind of recently how when I spend time centering myself in the things that I believe, in the kind of person that I want to be, and I get grounded there, and then the other things, it seems like there's enough time for everything else. I really base it on Matthew 6:33, which is, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and then all these things will be added unto you. So for me, that is, seek the highest existence above any of me and my nonsense and the drama that can be my life sometimes.
Yeah.
And reach higher than myself and within that space, go to it's God's righteousness, which to me is his divine order of things. If I want the best, I want to go after the best. And that's how I see it. And then everything else is going to fall into place in the way that it's supposed to. And me getting all stirred up. And it's funny, if my husband were like listening, he'd be like, really? Because so many times he'll be like, baby, you getting all stirred up like this is not going to, do anything. It's just going to get you all stirred up. And I'm like, you're absolutely right. So that's getting me more. I need to spend more time getting grounded. And Tea Talk actually came as a result of that. I used to force myself and be like, okay, Monique, you're stressing out. Go and do your thing. So I created a ritual of making a cup of tea. Mm-hmm. So everything, putting the tea bag, keeping the this, doing the this, okay, and everything. And that would get me to start calming down. And then I would notice, I'd go, oh, I'm going to do my quiet time with God. Why don't I make a cup of tea? And then I started making the tea and I'm talking to God while I'm making the tea. And I went, oh, Tea Talk. And that's how I came up with that.
That's how you came up with that name.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? But now you also have a children's show that you do in Nashville.
Yes. So my business partner, I was living in Nashville back in 2009, 2010. And I met this amazing person there. And God was like, you're going to do work with this person. And I looked at her, I said, listen, I know we barely know each other. I said, but I just really believe that we're going to do something really cool together. Would you be open to having, a cup of coffee? And she, very pretty and attractive. She's from England. She looked at me and she says, well, I don't drink coffee, but I love tea. I'd love to have. I was like, well, we can have whatever you want and everything. So we sat down, had some meetings. And about 21 songs later, a show was born, and we're in the middle right now. We've just finished, gotten the pitch deck up to where we really like it. And we're starting to go around and pitch and then think of, put all the pieces together. And some people might go, wow, all the way from 2009, 20. Well, yeah, it takes a long time and life happens.
Yes.
And we had to mature a lot because I know that when this thing takes off, we're going to really need to not only be very protective of each other and be very bonded together because we are 50-50 partners in this, but we also are going to be encountering a lot larger things than we probably ever thought that we would. And we have to be mature enough to handle that. So we're mature. We're more mature now.
Well, good.
Yeah.
It's important to be more mature.
Right.
Yes. Now you've performed all over the world and you even had an act one time with your husband. So tell us about that.
Okay. So that was very special. He's going to laugh when he hears this, but I really wanted, at the time, I had just finished these 4 songs with the producer. And I really thought, gee, wouldn't it be neat to go on? My husband's a professional athlete, professional bodybuilder. You've met him. And he is known for always being in shape. He's known for aesthetic, his shape, his lines, and for the way he poses. He kind of does this almost like a matador kind of thing. And in fact, he gives seminars because a part of bodybuilding shows is when you're competing, you pose. Right. They'll do a pose down, right? It's a part of the whole day and part of the judging. So you pose to music. So I remember one day he was practicing in front of me and I thought, So I went and I sat like on the staircase that was behind him and he was sort of out here. And I was practicing one of my songs in front of him, like behind him. And he's over there and he goes, hey, baby, he's like, what if, he goes, you travel with me all the time, which I was at the time. I would practically manage his career. He said, what if you come, you're going to be there anyway. What if you come on stage with me and actually sing one of your songs and I'll pose to it and you can wear a costume and this and that. I was like, thank you. What a great idea and everything. And so we went all over the world. We even went to China and India, which was amazing. And we would do this act and it was amazing. I mean, these big people would come up at the end. We had one man who was a Sikh, in India come up. I mean, they would be crying you know, oh, that was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. You know, he would just, I want you to meet my wife and all this. I had another guy, oh my God, I don't know what you guys did, but it was just, and then the tears would be pouring, the love and the you know, and it just became this thing. And it was very much received by the people that were there live. But then sometimes people that like getting there, it was a real challenge. That was, I tell you, if I ever started to build a tougher skin, it was during a lot of those years, because my husband is a celebrity in his field. And here I would be the wife calling up. And in the same time that I'm helping just confirming the hotel reservations, I'm also talking to the sound people who are not used to one of the bodybuilders' wives calling and saying, hi, can I get a microphone? Oh, there'll be a mic. I said, yes, but I need a vocal mic there because we're flying places. So I couldn't pack a lot of my own, certain things wouldn't work. And they would be, well, what's the matter with the mic we have? The MC will use it. I said, well, I need this. And then, oh, can I also please, I need to arrange for a sound check. You know, a what? Yeah. And so I'd get there and they would treat me one way until I got up on the mic and opened my mouth. And then it was like, oh, you're a singer. You're actually a real singer. Okay. And then,
you're not just a wife.
Just a wife. Yeah. Just a female, because it's very male dominated.
Oh, yeah.
And then some of them, even when they knew I would be there, they'd say, hey, can we hire you additionally to sing the national anthem? And so they would pay me extra and I would sing the national anthem as well, which was such a thrill. So,
well, you just sang the national anthem at the Fiore Club here in Las Vegas.
Yes. Thanks to you and Nelson.
And they loved you. Everybody, they thought that it was the best rendition of the national anthem they'd ever heard.
Thank you. That was so nice. And do you know, now some of those people that were there come to my show. And
Wonderful.
They're friends. Yeah, we're friends now. I even invited Nelson, in fact. But Lorraine called me, his back was bothering him. So his back has been really bothering him lately. I felt so bad.
We're talking about Nelson Sardelli, the Las Vegas entertainer that used to be, well, I shouldn't say that. I started saying used to be quite the stud, but I mean, he was always so gorgeous and great entertainer. But
charming,
even today,
and his accent is so
89
wonderful.
years old and he's still charming.
Oh yeah, so charming. The accent is still beautiful.
Yeah. And he's a very caring individual. He cares about people.
Yes.
Just last week, I was had a little bit of a scare, the doctor, and I couldn't believe it. He called and said, are you okay? Wow. You know, how did that go with the doctor? I mean, how did he know?
No, that's so nice. I mean, even for his wife to call me and say, we're very sorry, we're not going to make it. I thought, thank you for just letting me know.
Well, she's lovely.
Yeah.
She's absolutely beautiful and such a nice person.
Yes.
I really like her.
Yeah.
Oh, well, let's talk about you.
Well,
we weren't talking about them. Let's talk about you. Where can people find you?
So they can find me depending on what their social media is. I do have my own website. It's MoniqueMaffeiHester.com. And I know that's probably a mouthful to spell. I could spell that out if it helps people. Or
John will put it on
the screen. So Monique Maffei Hester. When I'm singing, I go by Monique. So don't ever get confused. When I'm speaking, I go by Monique Maffei Hester. And then I also have a YouTube page. I have TikTok. I have Instagram. And I have Facebook. And that's all at Monique Maffei Hester. So
and they will need to know how to spell Maffei.
Yes. M-A, double F as in Frank, E-I. I've been hearing my mother since I was a little girl. M as in Mary, double F as in, A, double F as in Frank, E-I. And
I like that. That's cute. Yeah. So what's next for you?
Gosh, this year, I very much would like to produce Tea Talk as a regular show. So I've got an opportunity to put that on a Roku network. So I really want to do that. And I have that all laid out because what Tea Talk has been, in fact, if you want to see Tea Talk, you can see those videos. They're about a minute to a minute 30 because, social media limits you and people's attention span sometimes, right? And they're in the car and they're turning on. So that's on all my social, particularly on Instagram and also on my Facebook page. I have a Facebook profile and also Facebook page. And what I'd like to do is produce Tea Talk in a longer format. And a part of Tea Talk is music. The third segment of Tea Talk involves music. And other than that, I'm working right now, because I do tend to sing in multiple genres, I'm seeing which doors are opening to me. Since I just did the Dennis Bono show.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. What a gracious group of people. From the minute you get there, they're like taking care of you and making you feel special. Yeah, and that's such a rarity. It's kind of like here, the moment I walked in, you guys like, okay, everything's fine. What do you need? And, and just relax, take a breath. Everything's good. I was like, okay. But I think what's going to be the lane I might be in, I love the jazz standards, and I love soundtrack, and the way that I write is kind of like that. So I've got a show this Thursday, actually, at Notoriety Live. Tickets are on sale. That's for April 25th. And I'm actually doing 2 of my original songs in that. So I'm going to see how I feel singing my original music. I'm going to keep doing the composer's room, for right now, as long as they'll have me, and try and get other venues. I'm in the process of putting a band together right now, which I'll need from different places. And then for fun and for my chops, I sing with a band on Wednesday nights at the Composer's Room called Limoncello. And that's 70s and 80s, maybe a little 60s rock combined with.
That's on Wednesday nights?
That's on Wednesday nights, typically. If you go to thecomposersroom.com, you can see the calendar. Not only I'm on there and my nights, my jazz nights, let's call them. I think I call it an evening with Monique. And you can also see Limoncello on there. We do a show called The Heist. So I'm singing in Italian, and it's a lot. I'm in a very short period of time, like just since December is when I've really been singing out here. I have been kind of, just sort of trying to add to the girth of what I'm doing and expand out. Yeah. So.
Well, I think you've really caught on. People see you, they love you, they go back. They want to see you again. They want to hear you. And you sing the oldies but goodies that people like me love. And even you sing a lot of songs that my parents used to listen to.
I love the old songs.
Yeah, and it brings back a lot of memories for people.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's really exciting. They come and they see you, and you're so young and you're so pretty, and you always dress in something wonderful. And you do the show, which is really cool.
Thank you.
And then we see you and we enjoy the music, and we come back, and we love coming there.
Oh, I appreciate it. And, I go down in the audience. I had somebody comment to me, in fact, just the show last Friday, and they said, you're doing these older songs, but nobody's doing these songs. And to me, they make so much sense. These are the songs I love. And I want songs that speak of uplifting messages. One of the things that's really in my heart is people know what it looks like to have a bad day. Everybody knows what that looks like, and when you come to my show, I want people to be transported, like you said. I love the song I'll Be Seeing You and I'll Be Old Familiar. I love that song. At the same time, I wrestle with whether or not to bring that in my show, because I'm like, well, gee, will that make people think of something sad? But sometimes,
no, it's Roy Rogers.
Yeah, sometimes. Well, and sometimes, see, and I didn't grow up with Roy Rogers doing it. I grew up hearing it as that the parents were watching their children go off to war. That but I love that stuff. I love Peggy Lee. I love Sarah Vaughan and Ella Fitzgerald and some of the old Frank Sinatra stuff. It was just good music. It was good music, and to hear the instruments, and that's why, I'm in the process. I want to put together. I don't know yet if it's going to be a big band or, probably a big band, and then be able to have a smaller cutoff part of that big band for the smaller venues. I want to be that person that can go in and say, oh, you need a duo? I've got that. You need a trio? You need a big band? I've got that. And so far I can do that musically. And now as I'm meeting more and more people,
Yes.
I'm meeting more musicians that are getting me and are like, I like you, I like what you're doing, and I want to be on board with you. I believe in it. And I'm like, awesome.
Yes.
Let's be fans of each other and get this,
Yes.
show on the road.
Yes. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
you know what? We're out of time, and
Oh.
I'm sorry because we're having such a good time.
Yeah,
I
no,
always
this is
love
so
being
great.
with you.
I do as well with you.
So we should tell people, what nights you're there. Once again, we should
Okay.
remind them
Okay.
what nights you're at the
So
composer's
at the
room.
composer's room, typically on Fridays when I'm there. So I'm usually there twice a month on Fridays. So if you go to the composer's room website, you will see the dates I'm there. If you go to my website, so thecomposersroom.com or MoniqueMaffei-Hester.com, and you can look under the events tab and I will have it listed. That's my jazz nights. Limoncello, I'm there on Wednesdays. Again, that's the Composer's Room website. And if you can't remember the name limoncello, it's a drink that is known that it's a yellow Italian liqueur made with lemons. Yeah, limoncello. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. So that right now and if you ever don't see me on that website, then by all means, hit me up on social media, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, or YouTube. Best place is Facebook Messenger and Instagram Messenger, and that's at Monique Maffei-Hester. Yeah, at Monique Maffei-Hester. Okay.
Great.
Thank you so much for having me, Judy.
Oh,
This
thank
was
you.
wonderful.
This has been great.
Thank
I
you.
really
For me
appreciate you
too.
being here.
Thank you.
And thank you for being with us today. As usual, another fabulous show with one of my great guests. Thank you for being here. And if you have a story, be sure and contact me, Judy Morio at WWDBTV, Las Vegas.